Hey everybody, Flake of Wrath here, aka Michael Stevens. Now we're switching stuff up here with the podcast. I want to add in a little bit of an intro, just kind of set the tone. But I mean, to be honest, if you're clicking on the video right now, you already know what it's about. It's a podcast with Valparaiso's Tristan Leonhard, who is the director of campus recreation and well-being, but he oversees the esports department. So I reached out to Tristan. I've seen him on Twitter a lot, and I said, you know what, it's Valpo's turn. We've reached into a little bit of Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, a lot of Michigan, obviously, but what I like to do in these podcasts is pick the brains of the directors of these esports programs or the schools of these esports programs and get what they're seeing, because the reason I'm doing this, especially with all these schools, is because everyone's system is a little bit different. What they're built on, the foundations they're built on, why they're doing it, and what they're trying to achieve. You know, it's very different from Northwood to Valparaiso to Siena Heights to Boise State. It's different with the foundation, how they run the program, what's involved in their program. And to be honest with you, if I was a prospective student, I would want to know certain things, right? So for parents as well, you might want to know things like what is offered, or what is my kid going to be watched over? Is it going to be like a parental situation? Is it going to be more just my kid with his friends having a different type of situation? It is all different, and you need to know those items, and you can learn those items with these podcasts. So this podcast, I believe, is right around 45 minutes long with Tristan, and we talk everything Valparaiso. We talk esports. We talk what got him into esports and why Valparaiso. We also get into why he is so passionate about what he does. The director of campus recreation and well-being. There's more to it than just esports. There's campus recreation and well-being. And there's a lot around that well-being that goes with the family sector. So we sat down with about 45 minutes of talking with Tristan, and, well, Bowser just busted in my room, and he wants to say hello to everybody. Bowser is my Newfoundland. He's 12 years old, and he's now wanting pets. So with Bowser busting in and wanting pets, we'll leave you to the podcast. But if you are interested in more podcasts, check them out. You can check them out on the 1UpXP show on Spotify, the 1UpXP show on SoundCloud. Or if you're watching this, well, obviously there's a lot more on the 910 News YouTube channel. Just make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you want to see more of in the future. And with that, I'll leave you to the intro, and I'll leave you to Tristan Leonhard from Valparaiso University. Here we go! Okay, let's go! And welcome everyone to another 1UpXP show podcast / interview. And I am grateful and honored to be sitting down with Valparaiso University, one of my all-time favorite schools. In fact, I tried to go there out of high school because I wanted to chase storms. They had a storm chasing team. I was going to think, yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to walk on their baseball team. And then they asked for my 7th semester grades. And I said, I had another school that was already interested. So I went to Northland instead, played hockey, baseball, got my meteorology degree. Regardless of the situation, I'm still here now. And, well, I am playing video games, but I'm talking to Valpo about some video games. And we bring in Tristan Leonhard, the director of campus recreation and well-being. And within that, Tristan, I have to say, esports is involved in there, brother. Welcome. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for giving me the time.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael, for having me on today.
Of course, brother. Of course. If there's anything esports related in college, we got to talk about it. We got to get this out there. And one thing I do want to mention is just the boom is so crazy right now. I'm finding schools that, you know, I was like, oh, yeah, they got to have an esports team, right? And Valpo is just one of those schools that I instantly have to think have esports. But let's dive into you first. How and when did you get involved in video games and esports?
Oh, gosh. I was thinking about that. You know, way back, I say way back when because to my students, I'm ancient. But, you know, I was playing Halo LANs back in high school. You know, I would travel down to Indy or Fort Wayne, Indiana, and participate in Halo LANs. You know, as I played video games my entire life, you know, probably more than my wife would like to admit, but you know, I've always been involved in some sort of competitive gaming. You know, I did the first year of the NBA 2K League. You know, qualified and did that combine and things like that. And so I've always been involved in video games across the board. And so when they came and approached this idea a few years ago, they basically said, hey, you play video games, you should do this. And I was like, well, I guess. So it's kind of how here we are.
It seems like how it goes in a lot of these, because, there isn't a book that you read, or, like you harken back to traditional sports. And we talk about this a lot because traditional sports have had hundreds of years, or, 100 years to grow. And so there's a lot of experience of people who played. But when you go to video games, it's like, yeah, you have people that have been playing for 20 some odd years, but that's where you go to the experience. You're like, something about video games. Let's try you out here. Let's see how this goes. So it kind of is stealing a page, if you will, from traditional sports, but we're just not 100 years in, if you will. So, I always say that it's in its infancy, but it's not even in its infancy. It's still baking in the oven, if you will, because we are so new into this, but so many schools are like, we want to be on board with this. We want to see how it goes. And it's cool to see that you were there in Valpo and taking it head on. So let's talk about Valparaiso Esports. How did this all come about? Like, where did it come from? I mean, you guys are what, 2 years old?
So we actually just wrapped up our third full year.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
So we've gone through 3 years now, and really it kind of came just like that. We had this idea of esports and what that might mean. I've come up in college athletics. I came here actually to play baseball a long time ago.
You sound like me.
Yeah, exactly. So, I had that athletics type background,
right.
and when we thought about esports and what that might mean to our campus, we had a bunch of meetings. Hey, what does this mean? What can we do? And then myself, our CTO of the university, Dave, we're like, let's see what esports is about. We actually went to the NACED conference in Iowa, and as soon as we got in the car after the conference, we were like, we have to do this. Like this is everything we want. Not necessarily from a competitive standpoint, but just from a holistic standpoint for our students. And that was what we wanted. And so kind of sent out some feelers, some flyers on campus. And the summer before we started, I had 5 students who played League of Legends. And I was like, all right, let's do this. We're going to be an esports team.
Yeah. That's the thing is when you start knocking on doors, you see they all start creeping out of the woodwork because there's gamers on every campus. The problem is when you give them that avenue, it's like, oh, hey, here we are. You have something for me. So it's like everyone starts coming out. It's like, oh yeah, video games. I do that. So I definitely understand where you put the feelers out, and I'm sure you had a lot of hands go, hey, I'm interested. What is this? So it's just a way I've seen many campuses just start it. And then you just have this explosion of, yeah, we're here. Let's go. So you started this 3 years ago. That's right, just prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, it was what 1920? Yeah, 1920, and so we get through almost our first full year, and then obviously spring of 2020 hits.
Right.
And boom, we're off campus, and trying to figure out what this means for esports and trying to grow from there.
How did you find the challenges with that? Was it easier? Was it harder? Did you think you flourished through the pandemic? Because, with esports, you can do it, obviously you're not landing like your experience, because lands are something different. When you're there in person, you're playing against another team, it is just a different world. But when you're playing somebody online, how did you guys handle that after your first full year?
I think from the competitive aspect of other schools, I think that was okay, being online and moving there. But I think obviously that hurt the culture of the team, especially as you're first starting and trying to set everything up, being distant for a while. And then when coming back to school that next fall and trying to navigate the 6-foot rule, and seeing how many people we could have in the lab, all of that kind of took a toll as well. And so, our first year we had almost 45 students involved in some way, 10 on our competitive teams, but then another 30 who wanted to be a part of the club. And then COVID and spacing and everything like that, we went back down to 20. And so it was kind of a tough second year of trying to figure out who and what we were going to be due to COVID.
Yeah, and you're exactly right when you say, the chemistry takes a hit because, it's very different. You're a traditional sports guy like I am, and then, there's just that family feel. When you get to especially in baseball, this, your team is your family and you're so close with those people, but you take some of that away. Obviously, it is very different dynamic, and it is going to play out very differently. Even in esports, some people are like, "Oh, that's not going to matter. You don't see each other anyway." Well, no, you do, and you do have to communicate, and it just feels very different when you have a teammate sitting next to you playing rather than the teammate on the other side of the camera who might not care because you're not there. So
Right.
it's very, very different. Understandable 100%. So how many teams do you guys currently have at Valpo right now?
So it's a tough question to answer. So we have four traditional teams, we'll say.
Okay.
We have League of Legends, Overwatch, Smash, and Rocket League, which
Yep.
are, the four core. We're in the process this fall of legitimizing our TCG team. So we had a couple of years ago, we were trying to start a Magic the Gathering Arena team.
Yep.
CSL dropped Magic, and so that team's kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do. And so last year, as a part of that TCG group, we added like Hearthstone and
Hearthstone.
Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. So TCG is really going to take our 5th spot this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually have an iRacing team. So we have
that is something I did see on your website that is very unique because there's not many colleges that I have talked to with iRacing just yet, but iRacing is a huge thing.
Yeah, so we have a couple of iRacers. We have a team behind them that helps spot and strategize and everything there. So
that's pretty cool.
We have 4 core teams, and then technically we have 6. So
Gotcha.
So we kind of expanded out.
So let's talk about you got your teams. You guys are 3 years in. Let's talk about some of the achievements that the Valpo program has. I can honestly say I don't know much about the program, and also when it comes to different leagues and different schools, there's a lot of them in the collegiate scene. Yes, there are like 500 schools with programs, and there's like 450 plus with scholarships and everything, but each one is different to their perspective. So walk me through some of the Valpo program achievements, but also kind of how you guys work with your programs that you run and kind of your divisions that you guys run with.
For sure. So we've competed. We have a NACE that we've competed in that first year. Mm-hmm. We did shift to the NECC for years 2 and 3 primarily, and really it was just kind of a all-encompassing program aspect. We found one home that kind of took every single one of our programs and allowed them to join and helped overseeing the entire program and schedule alignment and everything from there.
Right,
so
it fit you guys perfectly.
Yeah, it was perfect for us, and we've competed in some kind of regional leagues. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've also done like CLOL and Collegiate Overwatch along the way as well.
Right.
So we've kind of gone all across the board as we try to figure out where our home is. We've flirted with conferences. I've had a couple of conference bid meetings where it wasn't the right fit, but those have kind of been our homes for the first 3 years or so.
Right.
Each of our teams has kind of found its own area of growth throughout the time. Our Smash teams this year went 14-2. One of my freshmen that came in was named the fall MVP of the conference. Our Overwatch team actually just brought home a national championship in the NECC. So NECC has different levels of play, but we brought home one of the Navigators Championship for Overwatch. League of Legends actually made it pretty far in the bracket round of CLOL this year. We actually made it to the semifinals of the bracket stage, so that was a strong improvement for our team. And so we've just been growing. Each year we've taken a little step further when it comes to that competitive play, which, to be honest, I wasn't expecting, when it came to our program and what we were trying to achieve. Championships are great, but to be honest, I didn't expect it. That wasn't something that we're pushing for as we have a program as a whole.
Dude, CLOL is not easy. And you said you guys got to the semifinals. I mean, CLOL, like when you look, and it's funny because there's schools with certain programs, right? You don't have, there might be a handful of schools that just have front to back great programs all around. But like Michigan State doesn't even really have an esports program, but their CLOL team is like, they're always in the finals. And it's just like, where are they coming from? But so like for you guys to do what you do with the programs that you have and being so new, I mean, you guys are doing it, man. You're doing work. So hats off to you guys at the program because you are finding that, like you said, you're finding your way in what is a very new territory. Everybody's trying to find their little space and make their growth and be felt. And so you guys are doing it well. What conference is Valparaiso in when it comes to traditional sports?
Traditional athletics, we're in the Missouri Valley.
Valley, okay.
Yeah. And so whenever we talk, Missouri Valley and esports, Illinois State, when it comes to it. And I'm like,
I'm trying. That's what I was trying to do was kind of match together if you guys could have a Missouri Valley conference for esports. And I don't think Marysville's in that, correct? Marysville's not in the no. I think they're just a smaller school that I don't even. What conference are they even in for their school?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. So when you think about like kind of the bigger scope of things, I really wholeheartedly believe this. When the big schools make the move with the NCAA, at some point, that's when things will kind of reshape. But I just love the fact that schools like Valpo or Northwood or Siena Heights or anywhere these smaller schools are getting their say and doing it now, because the bigger picture of things, it might change 10 years down the road, but I super love the foundation that's being built right now with these smaller schools, because it's opening up so many doors. You don't have to go to a major to have your cemented ground in esports. You can go to Valpo, you can go to all these other schools that don't have, necessarily the biggest traditional sports, but they can, make their name heard in the esport world, which I love.
Absolutely.
So what are the goals for the Valpo esports program? Obviously, you guys, you told me a lot, like you're fitting in, you're doing all that, but give me something kind of like 3 to 5 years down the road. What are you looking at down the road when it comes to esports?
Oh gosh,
the very traditional, where do you see yourself in 5 years, Tristan?
Right? I mean, it's cheesy, but honestly, it's the student athlete experience, right? I mean, again, we're a non-scholarship program,
right?
And like I said, I hope those championships come along the way. Our goal is to put out competitive programs year in and year out, and compete there. But at the same time, I want to be sure that we're providing that experience for these students who are coming. That not only the competitive experience, but also just that encompassing community when they step onto campus, Valpo as a whole, but then the esports program kind of as a home, that home away from home. And so, we could have a 0-12 year, but if that team is cohesive and has good culture and everything's going well, then that's a success. So, the goals is hopefully we just maintain that, and then bring home some wins along the way.
Right.
But
those are always the additional frosting, if you will, on the cake. I totally understand what you're saying. Obviously they are students first. They're student athletes, and then what comes with it is just a bonus. But for sure, I hear you 100%. Grow that program. Make sure these kids have that 4-year awesome experience. And, if you get some championships down the way, you get some championships down the way. But there's no harm in trying to get those championships either.
Yep.
So, let's jump into the questions. We got a good bit of you. First of all, I do have to say, you played for Valpo baseball?
I played for, I just told this story to someone yesterday. Came here a freshman.
So when did you graduate high school?
2005.
Okay, so I graduated in 04. So we're about the same time. We would have been like coming in at the same time. We almost been our teammates, brother.
Yeah, I played for a couple months here, and then completely dislocated, tore everything in my ankle, and ended my baseball career at the time. So,
ankle.
It ended me here today, so I can't complain.
Can't complain. Yeah.
But at the time, I was pretty upset.
Trust me, I know. I've torn some ligaments in hockey. I was like, this might be the end. And then, you're back on the ice a few months later, like, okay, I'm fine. We're good. But I'm paying for it now. 36, my legs are not feeling right. But all right, so let's talk some questions here. You already said you guys don't have any scholarships surrounding esports. Could change down the road, of course. But do you have any degrees or anything that those kids might follow up for that are esports kind of, not esports in general, but just something around esports when it comes to maybe technology based or anything like that?
So obviously, we have some of those traditional like computer science and everything there. Specifically looking at esports, we're actually looking at adding an esports minor. The hope is to start that in the spring of 23. So, we've thought about esports majors and everything there, but what we wanted is a minor that accompanies something else. So, business marketing with an esports minor, or finance with that kind of minor. And so, our hope is we'll have a minor program that starts in spring 2023. I
love that.
We've also started to kind of look at different types of programs for game development and everything there. I'm just looking at my calendar because I have a esports game studios meeting next week as we look at that.
That's awesome. I like
that potential. So I mean, it's just been a lot of fun to see campus kind of embrace esports as a whole. And now we're definitely seeing different avenues that students can take that pair with different traditional majors.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities. Like like you said, with LANs. I mean, you got production, you got sound. You have so many different things that go into just a LAN event in general, not just playing the game. A lot of people take that as, oh yeah, they have esports, but my kid can't play. Well, no, your kid doesn't have to play to be involved in esports. There is the marketing, there's the social media, there's casting, there's so much that goes into esports in general, not to mention game design or, making a game itself. So there is so much more to it than I think people kind of don't connect the pieces to. So there is much more to it, and that's awesome that the minor is being thought of for next year. I mean, that is huge news. A lot of schools don't have those things just yet, and I know a lot of them are like, well, how do you even get started in it? But when you get minor, that opens the doors to many different opportunities, especially business and production and everything like that. You have a dedicated lab for esports. I know that. Is there room for growth? Have you guys thought about like what happens when the numbers get a little bit higher here? And now that we're out of the protocols for most of the pandemic. So, yeah, we can have people back into the lab and everything going on. Is there room for growth for you guys at Valpo?
3 weeks. So we're actually moving. So
there you go.
We're moving. We'll be moving. So we had about 1,100 square feet in our current lab space. With the new offices and study space and competition lab that we're going to open, we're going to have about 5,400 square feet. So wow. We're opening up that space. We'll be ready to rock this fall. We're opening up a brand new open space for seating, but more importantly to me, we have a dedicated study lounge for the students there, and a couple different offices that'll just be quiet space for them to utilize to focus on academics. If we're being honest, making sure we have that balance between being a student, as we say, student athlete. That student comes first. So our new space is going to be great for esports, but also hopefully for their academics as well.
Yeah, again 100%. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to make sure the schoolwork's taken care of first before you get into the depths that is gaming, and that will all come with time. The balance is. I mean, every student athlete has it. I'm sure you had it. I had it. You got to separate the sport from the school. And that's the best way to do it is, you have that dedicated space for those kids to get that schooling done, and then the dedicated space for those kids to get that practice done. So I have to ask, what is the everyday life like for Tristan here? Obviously, we've talked, you're a traditional sports guy, but you are dealing with more of the recreation and well-being on campus. So take me through a normal day of Tristan Leonhard during the season. What's it look like you from start to finish, brother?
Oh, boy. So kind of in my role, I oversee the student activity that's outside of athletics. So intramural sports, club sports, fitness and wellness, and then esports on top of it. So my day, my office right now is housed within the actual fitness center. So we're seeing the recreational space and there. So during the day, like the 9 to 5 portion, it's a lot of the campus rec side, but keeping my Discord open at all times. As we try to answer messages, and everything there. But then, it's a lot of times starting at that 4 p.m. Then we switch over to full esports mode where we go into our competition nights, and whether that's, our NECC games, Rocket League, Overwatch, or if I'm watching our collegiate iRacing, race that evening, we're kind of switching over to that mode too. But I mean, it's a fun mix where everything's kind of moving and changing all at once.
So you're that traditionalist esport guy right now, where your days aren't necessarily always 8 hours long. Those days, as the esports is growing, you have to kind of push stuff aside for a little bit. Make a little more extra time, because it doesn't have its 9 to 5 slot yet. Esports is still considered a hobby, to a lot of people. So you have to make that time. So your 9 to 5 job and then your hobbies afterward. And that's still what I'm doing with streaming. I've kind of incorporated my job, of course, but it's more, it's always seen as a hobby and trying to become more of that daily life grind. So I totally understand that 100%, brother. You are that diehard where it's like 9 to 5. All right, let's go do some esports. So I get that everyday life makes sense. How much sleep home time you get? Is it a good balance?
I was to say COVID helped just because during COVID I spent a lot of time out of the lab. I had to get a nicer computer for home. I had to get it. I'm very, very blessed. My wife is very supportive. My daughter loves watching Smash, so that helps too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's most of the time we're going home, hopefully around 5:30 or so, and just turning the computer on, letting Discord run, and then going from there. We do have and
that's the beauty about Discord, which I think a lot of people don't understand, is Discord is such a great way to reach out and talk, because you can be in two places but at a certain place. So it's better than messaging, it's better than phones. It's just Discord, you're always there. So I mean, I 100% love that.
Well, and I'm very lucky too. We built our program kind of like a traditional athletic structure.
Hmm.
So I have great coaches, you know, and I can rely on them a lot
Right.
for the actual in-game stuff. So I oversee the events if anything goes haywire during them.
Right.
But a lot of times, you know, at night I can rely on the coaches to handle everything else. And
Hmm.
so I'm there, I'm present, but I'm not super involved. So the work-life balance is getting better,
I
especially
like
with
it.
the sport and family.
I like it. I like it. I like it. What is Valpo doing differently to leave its mark on esports? You know, we have the programs that are popping up. I always bring it up because Northwood, you see Northwood everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, they're on the top of this or on the top of that. They've left their mark in esports and very shortly, but there's other programs that are doing unique things. Ferris State, I always bring up because they are building stuff around esports.
Mhm.
You know, there's other programs like Idaho or Boise State and Idaho that are, you know, Doc is Doc. You know, Doc
Yep.
is centered around that program and he's doing crazy things. What is Valpo doing to make its mark on esports?
I think right now our students are different. I know every coach, every director is gonna say this,
Right.
but my students are so involved with other schools, and oftentimes I'm hearing about it on the back end.
Right.
You know, and we just had our national championship matchup against Huntington University in Overwatch, and I was talking with the coach and the team before the game, and they're like, "Oh, we've been scrimming Huntington for the last 6 months," and I was like, "Oh, this should be interesting." But you know, they've been reaching
That
out,
networking, man. That networking's
yeah,
huge.
yeah. It's just been incredible how much my students have taken on the role of ambassador for the
Right.
university and have just networked and created these things that I just couldn't believe. And so,
I mean, that's
uh,
huge. That's
yeah,
massive.
yeah. And like I said, you know, hopefully the wins get our name out there, but
Right.
just the camaraderie and the networking alone, I think that's something that my students excel at when they're putting our name out.
I hear that 100%. That's actually an answer I haven't had yet. But when you look at things like esports in the collegiate world, it's so new. So networking is going to do bigger wonders for you than when it's saturated. You know, you're going to be on the top tier. Or like, oh, when somebody talks to you about esports, they're like, oh yeah, Valpo. You know, I have great connections over there. We talk to them all the time. They have a great team. Valpo here, Valpo there, Valpo there, and suddenly it becomes something bigger. It's like when Twitch first started. When you Twitch, you went to somebody's channel, they're like, oh yeah, you stream, yeah, I stream, and you know these channels started building each other from other channels, chats,
Yeah.
and becoming communities. That's the same way that I see collegiate esports growing. Is these communities end up expanding by how your students really do stuff. You know, a lot of coaches do it as well, but yeah, the students are the main issue for that, and that's a huge answer that I actually haven't even had yet. So that's amazing. I love that. Good
There we go.
job. Tristan's on top of it. But all right, so this one I kind of just this one kind of hit me while writing up these questions, and feel free to like go off of left field on this. But with technology and esports on the quick rise, how do you slow it all down and show and teach these young adults to learn and enjoy these right now moments? Because I've fallen into this. I was pro in Fortnite for a hot second. I was a manager at Lazarus for a year, and now I'm back to content creation because I was like, this. I've seen the doors all the way through this, but you don't stop to sit there and say, wow, look where I am right now in esports. You know, you just kind of do it and then it's done. And it's like, you look back at it, it's like, wow, I recruited 4 kids that won $4.5 million at Fortnite World Cup. Where was I during that? Like, I don't remember certain things, if you will. But like, how do you slow it all down for these kids and say, look at where you are, what you're doing, and you're also doing video games?
Yeah, I'm trying to answer. I have like 10 answers in my head, and I'm
Oh
trying to
no,
figure
you're
out what it is.
good. Take your time
Uh,
and filter it all out. You know, that's the whole point of the question.
yeah, I mean, really, what we try to do is we try to sit down with these students quite a bit
Mhm.
and really work with them through the mental mindset of things, you know, and whether we're you know, one night we'll cancel practices and say, "Hey, everyone join this Zoom. We're going to talk about culture." You
Mhm.
know, hey, one night we're gonna cancel this and we're just going to sit and talk about inclusion and what that means and just to try to slow things down for these students, and really refocus that mental mindset. You know, that's
Yeah,
the one thing we hear all the time is, you know, it's, even in traditional athletics, sports psychology, yeah, it's all here,
it's right there.
and esports, it's even more so.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's all between the ears, and so slowing them down and really just making them take a break. You know, the Overwatch team had movie nights every Friday
Oh,
night.
that's
They
cool.
canceled practice
Yeah.
and sat down and did this, or we'll have a, you know, an Among Us night. And we're not unique in that kind of stuff, but
No.
just being purposeful and slowing them down. The soapbox moment for me, you know, when I was reading this question, is the one thing we've really tried to do with our program is, and I have to I have to put the brakes on all the time is we're very purposeful in only joining one league a semester.
Like,
You know,
yeah.
there are teams and who join 3, 4, 5 leagues, and for me, I don't want to overtax these students. You know,
Yeah.
I tell them every single year when we have our first year, esports is the one sport that goes 12 months of the year.
Yep.
You know, every other sport has an off season or a dead period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anything they can do, and they get that mental reset. And our students don't, and they don't often see that until March or April when we're bickering and we're angry. You know,
Right.
because it's
You're just
been
burnt
10
out,
straight
man.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's one thing that we really focus on and harp on is just, hey, let's slow down, let's do what we do and do it right, but not do too much, and try to pull things out. So
100.
it's me, and my job is just trying to really focus them and not let them do too much, even though they want to do more.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing too. When you look at esports, like, yeah, your kids have practice, your kids have, you know, scrims and games and everything going on, but what's not accounted for is, you know, what they're doing in their off time. And you know what? If you're a video gamer, you're going to play games in your off time. So you just have to watch that balance of not burning out, because I've fallen subject to that. When Fortnite was in its, you know, coming in and then just going whole ham for like a year and a half in Fortnite, I was like, wow, I need to step back here a second. Like, doing this every day, not getting sleep, going to work, doing it again every day, it was just like, yeah, this is not the ideal life for me. And there was no balance. And it was just like, slow it down. What's going on? And just get that mental right back, because there is a line between competing, practicing, and then, you know, also what you do on your side. And if your side is also playing video games, which, you know, for anybody who has it as a competitive game, you're just going to end up pushing yourself a little bit too far sometimes. So it's best just to step back, be like, okay, yeah, I'll go hit 9 holes, 18 holes of golf, or take a bike ride, do whatever, just to kind of escape for a little bit, because it does take a task. So I understand that 100%.
Well, I was just saying, I think the word you use there, escape, right? I think that's the problem too, is a lot of times with, I'll use the term gamers, you know, gaming is my escape.
Right.
You know, when I need to de-stress, that I'm going to go fire up the Xbox, you know, and a lot of times when these students come in, that was their escape. And now it's
not their escape.
Work, you know, now it's the job. Now it's the grind. And so then they don't understand how to escape. And so just trying to teach them new ways to do it, whether it's hitting the gym or you know, going to play sand volleyball or something like that.
Exactly. Because I was afraid of that when I started the show, because it was like, okay, now I'm creating content for work. How's that going to impact my stream, where I'm doing that as my hobby and that's where I escape? But like, there's a fine line now with work, and I'm bouncing all over schedules. Now it's like I can't even make content because like I'm all over the place. So I understand that 100%. There's just, you gotta be very balanced with it. And it is still, to this day, there's things that I do to escape when it comes to video games, but you know, you don't put everything that you're going to do to escape into your work, because then you don't have anywhere to escape. And it's just like, okay, now I get it. I see what you're saying. But is there anything else, Tristan, that we need to know about Valpo, the esports program, or anything in general that we need to kind of highlight here?
I mean, I don't know. I have a problem. I don't like bragging about myself, so it's tough to brag about anything else. But no, I mean, a program as a whole, but really just the state of Indiana. And you hear about the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan is fantastic for esports.
Oh, but esports in Indiana, northern Indiana right now, boys, you got it going on down there. Trying, you guys, I mean, there is some top of the line esports that is growing quickly down in northern Indiana. And I really think you guys have it hand in hand with Michigan too, because you take a lot of it from Michigan. There's a lot of great schools around you guys, but I see Illinois doing the same thing. I see Ohio doing the same thing. So I feel like Wisconsin's the only one that's kind of holding back right now. But you guys have got it all going on. I just want Wisco to follow up, which I'm sure they will shortly. But, you know, it's the Midwest. And that's why Immortals came out here, because Immortals is seeing what's going on. So it is 100%. I feel you on that. Northern Indiana. Don't count Indiana out. They got it going on. But, you know, I am from Michigan, so I will say Michigan is my hub right now for anything esports. But, you know, I see you boys down there. I see you. Just stop touching my great leg. You know, we're good.
No, I mean, and on top of that, it's just the high school system, the state of Indiana high school.
Your high school system is
really
very
coming
good.
up.
Yes.
I
will say that is
good kids.
a lot better than Michigan's for sure. Michigan's is growing, but Indiana's, I feel like you guys have such a better base foundation in high school esports than we have. And I've seen that. Even talking to Coach Rob. Coach Rob was there at
Yep.
Elkhart doing his esports thing. So I totally was like, okay, now I see it. But in Michigan, it wasn't a high school thing. It was straight to college. And now we're trying to get the high schools to be like, hey, we have this thing up here in college called esports. You guys want to get involved? And there's these little individuals, these kids that take it upon themselves to get these started, and then they take off. And I think that's just one little tipping scale that needs to happen in Michigan a little more. Indiana, though, it's just like it seems more like you guys have forced the hand of high schools to do it more than Michigan has, which I really enjoy, and I really love to see your foundation down there. But so let me ask you, is your recruiting based more out of Indiana with the high school scene then?
It's started to be, for sure. Like I have like a 2-hour radius that I'll often go to high schools and do that traditional recruit, show up to practice and actually meet. There's tons of tournaments around here, whether I'm traveling to Kankakee Valley for Smash or Elkhart, for that's actually where I met Rob. Good
dude.
He's a great guy. But yeah, I mean, it's turning into more traditional recruiting as I now have more and more high schools within this radius that are kind of popping up, and it's just
love it.
It's great to see, and the player base in Indiana is strong too, so that's exciting too.
Well, of course. I mean, nothing against Indiana, but Northern Indiana is pretty flat and barren. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can play some video games, maybe golf a little bit. Of course you're gonna pick up a glove and a baseball, but what's the Chicago scene like? Is the Chicago scene really up and coming?
It seems like it. I mean, especially in the high school area. Rockford, I know, is a program that's pretty strong up there. But yeah, the Illinois high school scene seems to be pretty strong. Okay. And obviously you have the traditional Columbia College, everything like that. Right. That's incredibly strong.
And of course, the University of Illinois. I mean, who cares about them? But they're doing their thing. All right, so I do have to say, Tristan, we are done with the question portion, but you are not done with the off the hot seat just yet, brother. Every guest we have, we always ask them 10 questions. Now, these 10 questions are in no particular order and in no format, but they are some of the toughest questions you'll ever be asked in your lifetime. This will not ruin our friendship, I promise you. Before we get started, I've been thinking this and I haven't spit it out yet. What position did you play?
I played second base.
We would have been battling for the same position.
Just didn't have the arm for short.
Exactly. Me too. I maxed out at about 65, brother. They're like, you just go here. You can throw it anywhere from anywhere.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. I always regretted the throw home, though. All right. All right. So 10 questions to earn a 1-up. This is always fun. We had an old set of questions, but we have now upgraded since we had our first kind of year of podcasts. Okay. We are now switching up the questions. So if you have seen any of the 10 questions that are in 1-up, you are getting different questions, my friends. So don't think you can be prepared for this questionnaire, because you are not. All right. Tristan, are you ready for the 10 questions to earn a 1-up?
Let's do it.
All right. Number 1. What is the perfect sandwich?
Oh, goodness gracious. I've been gluten-free for like 10 years now.
Okay.
So and this is going to sound terrible. I don't eat many sandwiches because I can't eat bread, really. So it's literally like a peanut butter sandwich. That's the worst answer possible. But I mean, I don't eat sandwiches.
I never thought that one through. Tristan, again, coming up here, yeah. If you're gluten free, sandwiches are not going to be your darn wheat. All right, number 2. I mean, to be honest with you, a peanut butter sandwich is not bad. I mean, that's a solid sandwich.
It's a go-to.
But do you have 2 pieces of bread though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gluten-free bread.
You can't have an open-faced peanut butter sandwich. Number 2, iPhone or Android guy?
Android. I've been Android. I went to an iPhone for 2 years and I just couldn't do it. I've been Android.
Is it a video game thing? Like, everyone I've asked these new questions to are Androids. I was like, am I just odd? Like, I thought the iPhone world was... Come on, gamers. Number 3, scariest animal.
Oh gosh. I might have to say I'm gonna go with snake, just because
it's a good one.
Snakes are quick. Like I like to feel like I can be faster than some things.
Yeah, that's true.
But there are a few things I'm just not quicker than. And so,
A snake
especially
would be a
with
good
like
one.
the camouflage type deal,
Yeah.
I'm not a snake
Not to
guy.
mention, every time we see one, we always stop. We're like, oh, snake.
Right.
So yeah, I get that one. And not to mention, I can see where you're saying you're faster and everything. You know, I'm a second baseman. You're a second baseman. You know, we're
I get it.
probably a 1 and a 9 hitter here.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
we're stealing some bags. I get you. We think we can outrun the world
Yeah.
until we get thrown out. And it's like, I definitely got a bad jump, coach. That was a jump, not me.
Yeah.
Favorite sports movie?
Any given Sunday.
Ooh, that's a good one. One wow.
Yeah.
See, like I've asked this question a few times, and some people have given me ones where like Coach Rob was Coach Carter, which Coach Carter is a great movie.
Okay.
But like I was like, please do not tell me, Remember the Titans. I was like, don't give me that. Like it's such. I'm like, no. You know, it's a good movie, but yeah, Any Given Sunday, it's a good one. I totally forgot about that movie.
I have a signed Miami Sharks football helmet in my office.
No
signed
kidding?
By Jamie Foxx from Any
Oh
Given
my-
Sunday. So,
That's clutch.
huge
I
fan.
like that. I like that. That's pretty good. All right. Number 5. Would you rather spend a week in the forest or one night in a haunted house?
Haunted house.
Thank you.
Haunted house.
Coach Rob
sure.
said a week in the forest. I was like, dude, give me 12 hours in a haunted
Can't
house.
do it.
We're good,
Yeah,
dude.
No thanks. No thanks.
No thanks. No thanks.
Nope.
Number 6. Oh, this one's tough. All right. So get your thinking hat on. What number am I thinking of?
Is there a bracket?
No.
Is there like a low and a high, or is this just any number?
Any number.
We'll go 71.
No. Number 7. Plane, train, or automobile?
Automobile.
All right. Any reason behind an automobile?
I like to be in control, so I like to be the
Oh.
driver. So yeah, I'll go with that.
Oh, wait till we get to those automated cars, buddy.
Yeah, no thanks.
That's what I say. I'm like, there's no way. I don't
Nah.
care what year it is. I am not letting anything drive me down the road at 80 miles an hour. Like a train's different.
Yeah.
A plane is different. But I am not letting no robot drive me down the road at 80 miles an hour. Number 8, biggest fear. What is Tristan Leonhard's biggest fear?
Oh gosh. That's tough. That's tough.
I think this is one that stumped the most recent with everything.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really think about it because you don't want to think about it. But when you
No,
start
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it, it's like, oh.
Yeah, obviously, I wanted, my gut immediately was failure, but
Right.
then again, like I like to use failure as that learning,
that
so I
tool.
can
Yeah.
move forward. So it's not necessarily a fear, but we'll go back. We'll just say snakes. We're just gonna go back a couple answers. Time together.
Snakes. Yeah, number 3 and number 8, snakes. You're starting to sound more like Indiana Jones more and more and more, brother. DC or Marvel guy?
Oh boy, we're DC for sure.
Okay.
Big Batman fan.
Yeah, me too. But I will say I'm a huge Marvel movie guy. But when it came to the comics, I was a DC kid. Like I liked what DC was doing.
Mhm.
All right, brother. Last question, and then you're off the hot seat. One song for the rest of your life on repeat. What is it?
Wow.
That's a toughie.
Yeah.
Toughie. You don't want something too short. You don't want something that goes ham and that's it. You want something maybe, a little ebbs and flows, something that you're not going to hate 10 years down the line.
Oh gosh, like one song, like
One
not an
song,
album or
brother.
anything.
Not an album. One song.
Oh goodness gracious. Sorry, I'm Googling.
No,
'cause
you're
I
fine.
know the song I'm gonna choose. But I just need to find it real quick. So we're gonna go with "Splurge" by Nelly from Nellyville.
Wow. That's a
We're
throwback. I
We're
like
going
it.
way back.
I like it, though.
And I only say that because I've had
Was that-
Nellyville in my.
Was that your walkout tune? Your walk-up song?
It wasn't actually, mostly because of the obscenities. I
Oh,
couldn't.
that's true. That's true. It's tough to find a clean version nowadays.
Yeah, I've had Nellyville in my car CD player for probably a decade.
There
You
it
know,
is.
if my MP3's out or anything like that,
Well, I
it's
can
just
tell you, if you want to catch Nelly, he'll be up in Traverse City this summer for the
Really?
National Cherry Fest. Yeah,
okay. All right.
maybe we can get a hold of Nelly and see if he'll do Splurge for you.
Yes. Just no snakes.
Just no snakes. No snakes. No snakes. No planes. No snakes on a plane, please. With that, Tristan Leonhard, you are off the hot seat, brother. Thank you so much. You have earned your one up. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us about Valparaiso Esports. If you guys want to get connected with him, you can find everything on the 910 News webpage as well. But where can we find you, brother? Whether we want to get hold of you or possibly any recruitment, we want to go to Valpo. What do we do to get hold of you?
Valpo.edu/esports. We have an interest form there that immediately kicks your information to me, and I reach right out. And generally, I set up a Google Meet or a phone call, and we get connected right away. But yeah, Twitter is just Valpo Esports, and we'll get in touch.
Beauty, brother. Appreciate you. Be good, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Somewhere down the road, we'll talk a little more when Valpo really starts to I just have this feeling. There's nothing that's going to stop some of these schools, and you're one of those schools that I have a feeling is just going to do this. And there's some administrators be like, whoa, what's going on there? And they're just going to continue to do this. So I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm really looking forward to that, brother.
Thank you so much, Michael. Have a good one.
You too.
Here we go!